Time now for your forecast first. WRBL News 3 First Alert Weather.
Love looking at this picture. Now notice the Phoenix City Amphitheater. A little bit of mud and dirt still left over, some of the debris, obviously below action stage. So we're not going to have to worry about that anytime soon, sir. You're going to have access to the Riverwalk coming up. 82 degrees out there right now. Had the sun been out a little bit more in full force and less dense cloud cover, we probably would have easily gotten to mid-80s. But that's back in the forecast. We're watching Thursday late into Friday storm system. And there's some good news with that, too, we're going to highlight coming up in your first alert forecast. But until then, passing high cloudiness throughout the evening, and readings are going to be mild. And then we'll talk about this phenomenon. Looks like an eye looking at the sun, doesn't it? You're watching WRBL News 3 on your side, the CBS side.
Video of an East Alabama school resource officer using a taser on a student goes viral.
Parents of the Union Springs student are outraged, but police are defending the officer's actions. Dozens of people have died in the waters of Muskogee County since 2014.
But a local organization is working to change that.
On your side, this is News 3 Evening Edition.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for trusting News 3. I'm Teresa Whitaker.
And I'm Phil Scoggins. In our top story tonight, the Union Springs Police Department in Bullock County is defending the actions of its school resource officer after video of the officer using a taser on a student goes viral on social media.
Elizabeth White spoke with the student and his parents.
Being tased by a school resource officer has gone viral on social media. The student, 18-year-old Jamar McInnes, remembers feeling scared, then a sharp pain.
Like a needle.
And it hurt?
Yeah.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how bad did it hurt?
10.
How scared were you?
Scared.
Monday, McInnes says he was waiting on the vocational bus when the officer told him to get to class. McInnes says he was walking towards the bus stop when the officer then told him to go to the office. McInnes says when he asked the officer, quote, "Why the hell are you following me?" the officer got aggressive.
Then she grabbed me right here, and I had her move back from her, and she grabbed me again, I just snatched me from her, and then she pulled the taser out, punched in my head, and then she backed up and shot me in my leg with it.
He's a good kid. Stay to himself, don't bother nobody, none of that.
I don't tolerate with no disrespect and all of that and stuff, cause all my kids went to school over there, and you know, they don't disrespect. I raised them like my mom raised me.
Jamar's parents say he's a good student who's never been in trouble. They say the video shows their son staying calm and trying to walk away.
The officer attacked him. And I don't see where he did anything wrong.
Union Springs Police Chief Danny Jackson disagrees.
After reviewing the video and reading the officer's statement, I feel like that what she did was justified.
In a follow-up statement, Chief Jackson says the student was disorderly and began to use profanity towards the officer and aggressively pushed the officer. Unfortunately, whoever filmed the incident missed the initial contact between the officer and the student. Based on the information gathered, the officer was justified in her actions. However, further investigation is being conducted.
Did you ever try to hit her?
No.
So then the chief that said he should have been tased. Why you say that for coming from a chief, that he should have been tased? So, you know, that don't sit well with me.
And that ain't the first thing. That ain't the first time she did this to a child. He covered the stuff up for her. That's why he's so mad, because he went viral on Facebook.
Bullock High's principal tells News 3 the officer remains on campus while referring our questions to the Board of Education. News 3 has requested a statement from the superintendent. Meanwhile, the family believes Jamar will not face further action related to the incident and he can return to school. The family is contacting an attorney while asking for an independent state agency to review the officer's actions.
What do you think about what she did?
I just feel like she was wrong.
And Jamar says he wants to get back to school just as soon as possible. He says he just wants to get an education and earn his diploma. And of course, News 3, we're going to keep you updated on the story as it develops. Phil, Teresa, back to you.
All right, thank you so much, Liz. Well, Kiwanis Club of Columbus presented a $5,000 check to a local organization that is working to secure the safety of residents in the region while they are visiting the Chattahoochee River.
News 3's Angelicia Bruton attended today's news conference and has more on the group's efforts.
Yes, Phil and Teresa, the $5,000 check will fund 1,000 life jackets that will be given out during what Columbus Fire and EMS says is the most common season for people drowning in the Chattahoochee River. Since 2014, there have been 25 water fatalities in Muskogee County, the most being 9 in 2015. Columbus Fire and EMS Fire Marshal Ricky Shores says that he encourages everyone to enjoy the warm weather this spring and summer, but to make sure they are doing it safely.
We want our citizens to understand that, especially if you're in the Columbus area near this Chattahoochee River, you want to make sure that you're river savvy, that you understand you know, more than the average person that's not in an area that has a river attraction like this, to be safe and wear that personal flotation device.
Shore says that they average 4 to 5 drowning deaths a year, and the ages vary. He hopes with the Kids Palooza event next month, it will help kids in the area become more aware of precautions to take while on the river.
So we have about 1,000 life jackets this year that we'll be able to distribute, from sizes of infant all the way to an adult for an older child. Our target is kids 14 and under can receive a free life jacket if they complete the safety stations. That will be a part of the Kids Palooza.
Families are invited to the event to have a fun day in the sun and to learn more about the power of the Chattahoochee River currents.
Many times people can be afraid of the water, and we don't want them to be afraid of it. We just want them to respect it and look to the safety aspects of it.
Fire Marshal Shores says there hasn't been any water fatalities this year. Officials and event organizers say they hope this event will help keep that number at 0. The Kids Palooza event will be May 11th from 10 to 2 p.m. at the pedestrian bridge. Reporting from the Chattahoochee River and on your side, Angelicia Bruton, WRBL News 3. Back to you guys in the studio.
Thank you, Angelicia. Some people know they're committing a crime. Others don't even realize it. That crime? Jaywalking. And the fine, if you're caught, is not cheap.
News 3's Chuck Williams spent some time downtown this morning. Here's what he found. Chuck.
Teresa, Phil, there have been 4 pedestrians killed in Columbus this year. 2 on Veterans Parkway near 24th Street, 1 on Victory Drive, and 1 downtown. We wanted to see how prevalent jaywalking was downtown. It was easy to spot.
Jaywalking is crossing a street between intersections or not at a crosswalk. Exactly like that. You started in the street and crossed against the red light. That's jaywalking.
Time and again Tuesday morning, people violated the law. Amanda Free was one of them.
It wasn't an intentional thing, but I think afterwards, recognizing that I just jaywalked and didn't even think about it being necessarily a problem. Although, yeah, I know jaywalking is against the law. It's kind of just a cultural thing that's been accepted down here for so long.
One of the reasons people violate the law is they don't understand it, or worse yet, they ignore it.
The majority of the enforcement downtown has actually come as we were doing the reconstruction in the most recent fatality involving the dump truck and the pedestrian on Broadway. As we were downtown working on that thing, doing the reconstruction, what we found is people were just disregarding the signals and the crosswalks right in our presence. And that was a clear indicator to us that we need to do something about that. They've just become comfortable with clearing the roads and then just crossing without considering that there are signals and lights to regulate that for their own safety.
It's not a cheap ticket. The fine, if you get caught for jaywalking, is $200.63.
Ouch.
Yeah. You know, it's
That'll get your attention.
It's interesting, Phil, Teresa. This morning, before I came to work, I went to a coffee shop downtown. I parked on Broadway, walked across Broadway, got my coffee, walked back across Broadway, and I jaywalked. Twice. You know, and then I come in and this story is something I've got to do. So, you know, I think Amanda nailed it. It is part of the culture. And those of us that live downtown, if we're parked on one side of Broadway and we want to go to a restaurant on the other side of Broadway and we're mid-block in the 1000 or 1100 block, we're going to go straight across the street because that's the path of least resistance, and we've been doing it forever.
You're going to think twice about it from now on.
$200.63 worth.
That's a lot of money for jaywalking.
All right, thank you, Chuck. Coming up right here on Evening Edition.
A CSU professor has written a book about battling alcoholism and the methods that helped him.
Chuck, what about when you're when it's nobody coming on one side in a one-way street? You're going to stand there for 2 minutes? Just kidding. It's making me think twice, though, that's for sure. Here we are looking at clouds coming back in this first alert forecast, and I'll tell you, this is going to be a nice one. Even though the storm system is pegged to come here by the end of the week, don't let it get you down. We'll explain why coming up.
A professor at Columbus State University took to the literary world to shed new light on Alcoholics Anonymous.
News 3's Michaela Singleton has more on the U.S. of AA, a new book highlighting what he calls the shortcomings of Alcoholics Anonymous and alternatives to breaking the chains of alcohol addiction.
Joe Miller is a Columbus State University English professor, newspaper contributor, and also a former alcoholic. Miller says he struggled not only with alcohol addiction, but accepting Alcoholics Anonymous as his only way out.
Every time that it would kind of reach a problem with it, I would reach out for help, and I kept being told to go back to AA.
Miller says after several attempts, he started to realize the AA program, the 12 steps, weren't getting him a step further away from alcoholism.
They talk about how when you do these steps, you'll notice a total change in your personality, and it'll take away your desire to drink alcohol. And my experience was that wasn't the case. When I did the 4th step, I felt good that I'd accomplished something, but I looked at the results of it, and it just didn't feel like it was me.
Miller says he eventually branched out to find medications, therapy, and even apps to help him moderate and overcome his alcoholism. His new book, The U.S. of AA, How the 12 Steps Hijack the Science of Alcoholism, uses a historical narrative to explain Alcoholics Anonymous and criticize the common idea that it's the only solution for alcoholism.
And I thought, maybe if I tell this as a story and sort of lay it out from Prohibition on to the present day, it will help people to sort of see in perspective where AA is in the spectrum of people who suffer from this issue and the different ways to go about getting a handle on it.
Miller's book also cites several studies, including one by the University of New Mexico, that shows out of 50 alcoholism treatment methods, AA is low at 38th on the list. There's also another conducted by Alcoholics Anonymous itself that admits 95% of participants quit their program. Miller says he hopes to open up a conversation that AA works for some, but not everyone.
Kind of the way that depression and anxiety and mental health issues are, that it manifests itself in different ways for every person, and you got to try sort of a number of different approaches to treat it before you find the right one that works.
Reporting on your side in Columbus, Michaela Singleton, WRBL News 3.
Back to our weather. The temperature gauge on my car said 85 today.
Yes, very easily. You know, everything radiating off of that warm surface. You had enough sunshine coming through, even through that filter of clouds. You'd be surprised. So we got more of that coming up. And we have rain, too, but not a washout. This is going to be a nice forecast. So at least we could keep that river walk above water.
Now, News 3 brings you your first alert forecast.
Green on the green tonight at the Spencer Learning Center right on the green, 8th and Veterans area tonight. It's going on right now. If you want to see a beautiful show, and it'll be spectacular. The weather is just wonderful. It's 82 degrees out there now. Trees Columbus putting it on, part of Keep Columbus Beautiful Commission. You know, of course, it's all underneath that umbrella. It's going to be a lot of fun. And speaking of umbrella, we have a veil of nice high pressure over us and certainly no nasty weather. The next weather system farther off to the west across the panhandle of Texas, it's been stalled out there in New Mexico, around Gallup, Las Vegas, New Mexico, all the way through parts of the Rockies here, especially in the plains of Colorado and even into Oklahoma. So what are we talking about? When is the system arriving? Well, it's going to lose a lot of its punch when it comes in here thanks to that strong ridge of high pressure. That means we still could talk about rain by the end of the week, but certainly pale in comparison to what we just had last week, a week ago. So that's some good news. And we're getting a great view. We have to show this again to you. This is a meteorological phenomenon. The angle of the sun when it comes in through the atmosphere at 22 degrees cast this perfect ring. Sometimes you use water droplets, could do the same impact a little bit lower in the atmosphere, and that could cause a ring of a rainbow ring. In this particular case, during daylight hours, it's the sun. It was described by Phil Scoggins as an eyeball. So you're seeing it from the view of an eyeball looking at the sun. Think about that. You can see the cornea, you can see the outside of the eye. Could you see that? Looking at the sun right in the center, and it resembles an eye too. More in detail about that I have at WRBL.com. It's the second story, and I wrote a little something about it, so if you're curious to see more on that, no pun intended. See more of it. Okay, so clouds are coming in, breaking away from the mainstream of that storm system. It's wave action, very much like you would see in a pond or a body of water. That's the same way the atmosphere works. So you get a ripple effect, some high cloudiness lifting in here. Farther off in northeast Texas, there's that storm system. Not really severe, but they got a few thunderstorms going to roll through there. But by the time it comes to Louisiana and right through here late Thursday night, we get a brush with some showers, and it appears most of this energy with the area of low pressure coming over to western panhandle of Florida will remain farther south, so we really won't see too much of that, but the back edge of that could bring in maybe a smattering of a shower. And I'm thinking right now, Friday, looking good, even Friday night concert series. We'll talk more to Uptown Columbus, but we should be good this Friday. I don't think it's going to be a cancel Friday night event type thing. So that's some good news. So the overnight forecast, look for 59, certainly mild and some high clouds still in the first alert outlook. It'll continue this way even through tomorrow. Periods of high cloudiness. Will it be thin enough to allow some of that heat to get through? You kind of re-radiate the heat, and that phenomenon is just through those high cirrus clouds will cause some of that solar radiation, get us into the mid-80s, maybe 86. How do you like that one? Some people had 85 on their temperature gauges today in the car, not unheard of. 7-day outlook then, late Thursday, we'll watch for that. Just when I say general shower or thunderstorm, that's just like your garden variety, spring-like. We're not sounding the whistle of weather aware. You always be mindful there could be lightning in the area, you know, the whole routine. But this is very nice to report that we're seeing more of these storms scaling down a little bit, at least in this forecast for the next 10 days. Good. Certainly got to get through probably second week of May to really say, okay, now we're kind of getting into the tropical season. So right now things are looking good.
All right, Bob, thank you. Okay. All right, let's go to sports now, where we heard which Auburn Tigers hope to play on Sundays.
Yeah, but now it's time to talk about which dogs are going to take it to the next level.
I'm sure this dog alum is going to be so happy to talk about that, too. Oh, yeah. That's right. After the break, we'll see where the experts believe this next group of Bulldogs will end up. Stick around, guys.
Time for News 3 Sports.
The 2018 NFL Draft was a historic one for the Georgia Bulldogs. 3 dogs were selected in the first round, headlined by the outstanding linebacker Roquan Smith. 2019 is a different story, though. Many experts believe there isn't much star power coming from Athens in this year's draft. As of today, there are a dozen NFL prospects who entered their name to the draft. The experts believe there's only one first-round talent in this class, and that's cornerback DeAndre Baker. Baker had 40 tackles and 2 interceptions this past season. Another name we'll be watching closely, though, is Callaway's own Terry Godwin. Godwin's stock isn't too high after he struggled at the Combine, and some experts believe he'll go in the 7th round. Last season, Godwin had 22 catches for 373 yards and 3 touchdowns. As for the rest of the dogs in the draft, the CBS football experts have weighed in. It looks like most of the Bulldogs will hear their name called in the 3rd round. Experts say Riley Ridley, McCole Hardman, Elijah Holyfield, and DeAndre Walker should get the call then a couple more in the 5th and 6th rounds with guys like Isaac Nada and Jonathan Ledbetter. The NFL draft kicks off this Thursday in Nashville, Tennessee. All right, the ongoing federal investigation into college basketball now includes 7 college football programs, and that list includes Alabama. According to 24/7 Sports, today, Lewis Martin Blazer testified under oath that he paid players while they were still in college. In his testimony, Blazer admitted he paid $10,000 to that man, Penn State linebacker Aaron Maben, to stay in school instead of enter the NFL draft. Maben entered the draft anyway. No Alabama players were specifically named just yet. The other 6 schools include Pittsburgh, Penn State, Michigan, Notre Dame, Northwestern, and North Carolina. We will follow the story as it develops. The Alabama high school baseball playoffs continue this Friday, and one team playing in the 2nd round is the Beauregard Hornets. Last week, they beat Robyth at home in back-to-back games to advance to the 2nd round, where they will take on Chilton County. The Hornets do have a losing record, but many of their games came against teams above their 5A classification. The experience against bigger teams has helped the Hornets win the region when they beat Valley on April 11th. And pulling off the area title in an area that was devastated by a deadly tornado is no small feat.
I don't know if it was the right decision looking back, but I, at the time, you know, decided it would be good for everybody to get back to a little normalcy, get back to playing baseball. You know, it was just this feeling of getting back to what we've been doing, and you know, just showing that it wasn't going to tear us apart. We're going to keep pushing on.
Justin Hallbrook will have that full story on the Night Watch Net. I cannot wait for it. And guys, just the resiliency of that team is something amazing. We're supposed to be objective as sports reporters, but it's going to be easy to root for the Beauregard Hornets moving forward. So
Had a lot to root for in this area.
Absolutely, absolutely.
All right, thank you so much, Rex. We're coming right back. Stay with us. All right, Bob, if we're heading out tonight, what?
You have the Spencer Community Center, and this is over at the First Baptist Church right off of Veterans Parkway, and I think it's 8th Street or Avenue. I can't.
If you're talking about the William Spencer house. That is on the corner of 8th and Veterans.
Now, I'm trying to think, yes, it's right around there, and it's on the green. That's where Chuck Williams was talking about, and it's a good little screen on green. Trees Columbus is putting it on, and it'll be a lot of fun. Also Sunday, take notice with this. We have some great weather coming up. Starting tomorrow for this Sunday, the YMCA J.P. Thayer off of 14th Street. This is in downtown Columbus. We'll be hosting a Kids Safe Day. Bouncy houses, giving away 100 t-shirts for the first 100 people. It'll be a lot of fun educating kids and having the best summer they've ever had.
And that's going to do it for Evening Edition.
Have a safe and pleasant evening, everyone.
Good night.